Good afternoon. I'm Randall Wilson from Jobs for the Future, and I'd like to welcome you to an introduction to the National Trade Adjustment Assistance Community College and Career Technical Grants Program evaluation. First, today's webinar is our first opportunity to acquaint the TAC grantees Today's webinar is our first opportunity to acquaint the TAC grantees and local evaluators with the work of the National Evaluation. For the next hour, we'd like to give you an overview of the purpose and goals of the National Evaluation and how the national team will work with the local sites and their evaluators and be a resource to this important effort. Here's our program today. We'd like to introduce you to our National Evaluation team and their organizations and let you know what their roles are on the project. Then we'll discuss the national evaluation of the TAC grants, its overall objectives, the research questions, and the activities planned for the evaluation. Equally important, we'll explain how the national team will work with the local third-party evaluators, offering technical assistance, supporting peer learning, and coordinating events to support the evaluations and build a learning community. Then we'll introduce you to the work of two local evaluators who will give you a glimpse of their approaches to evaluating TAC grants. We'd like to wrap up with a discussion to hear what you'd like to learn through your communication with the email address that we're going to send. And now I want to introduce Lauren Eister from the Urban Institute, manager of the National Evaluation of TAC. Lauren?
Hi, Randy. Thank you so much. I'm just going to switch to the next slide here. I first want to introduce the key members of the TAC grants. Erica Liliadal of the Chief Evaluation Office at the U.S. Department of Labor is overseeing the national evaluation for the department. She works closely with the program staff and the Employment and Training Administration on the national evaluation. As Randy mentioned, I'm Lauren Eister from the Urban Institute. The U.S. Department of Labor has contracted with us and our partners to conduct the national evaluation of the TAC grant program, and I serve as the evaluations program project director. I'd also like to introduce our partners on the national evaluation who are with us today. Bert Barno, who you will hear from later in this presentation, is leading the evaluability assessment for the project and our effort to conduct a cross-site non-experimental impact analysis of the TAC grants. John Trucco from Capital Research Corporation and Carol Hafford from NORC at the University of Chicago are co-leading the implementation analysis. And Randy Wilson from Jobs for the Future is heading up the communications and events for the third-party evaluators, which he will be speaking about shortly. To give you a brief summary of the TAC grants, there have been 128 grants to date, with 49 grants awarded in Round 1 and 79 grants in Round 2. Grantees can be a single post-secondary institution or a consortium of institutions. Nearly $1 billion in TAC grants have been awarded to date, and several Round 1 grants and all Round 2 grants have third-party evaluations. We included this map to give you a sense of the scope and reach of the TAC grants so far. Institutions in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico have been awarded grants, although there is a wide range in the grant amount each state has received. Our overall objective for the national evaluation is to develop and implement a mixed method evaluation, including an outcome analysis, formal implementation analysis, performance assessment, and an evaluability assessment to better understand the TAC grants program. To accomplish this objective, the National Evaluation Team will need to interact with the grantees and third-party evaluators, and we'll talk today about how and when these activities will occur. Key research questions we will answer through our national evaluation are, What service delivery and systems reform innovations resulted in improved impacts for the participants, and under what conditions can these innovations be most effectively replicated? We'll also learn what types of emerging ideas for service delivery change and systems reform seem most promising for further research, and under what conditions are these ideas most effective. We will also provide the department with recommendations for future research on the country's public workforce system and workforce development in general based on the results of the TACT grants. All 4 key research questions will be addressed through coordinated research activities, including an implementation, analysis, and synthesis of the grant performance and evaluation results that many of the third-party evaluators will provide. I will discuss this next. Bert Barno will provide an overview of the cross-site quasi-experimental or non-experimental analysis we plan to conduct. National Evaluation will also lead communications with and support for the third-party evaluators. This includes webinars like these, conferences, and other resources during the grant period, which Randy Wilson will describe after Bert. We will conduct qualitative data collection and analysis to document and assess the implementation of the grant. Our units of analysis are the lead grant institutions, participating colleges, their partners, and the students. Analysis will be used to draw out patterns and trends across the grants and highlight innovations developed. We will present these findings in an interim and final report to the department. Our first data collection activity will be to conduct a web-based survey of all of the colleges participating in the grant. Based on our early review of the grants, we understand that the activities may vary some across the colleges that are within a consortium. We want to capture those similarities and differences. The surveys will be fielded to the Round 1 colleges in the spring of 2014 and to the Round 2 colleges in the spring of 2015. We have timed the survey so that we will be able to collect data at the same point of implementation across the grant. For the survey, we will ask colleges a range of questions about their TACT activities. The survey topics will include planning and goals for the grant, industries and occupations of focus, target populations and recruitment activities, capacity building and education and training activities, partnerships and systems change, outcomes, and sustainability. We will also conduct fieldwork to 10 grantees in Round 2 of the program. Our intent is to select grants that vary by the geographic region, industry sector, grant size and structure, and evaluation design. These visits will be conducted in the fall of 2014 and the spring of 2015. As we make our selections for visits, we will contact the grant coordinators and work with them closely to plan the visit. We expect the visits to last approximately 3 days, depending on the extent of the grant activities and partners involved. For the fieldwork to the Round 2 grants, we plan to interview grantee staff and stakeholders involved in the TACT activities. For the grantee staff, which could include staff from the lead institution and the partner institutions if the grant is a consortium, we plan to interview the grant director, college leadership, faculty and instructors, advisors and other student support staff, institutional research or data staff, IT staff, and curriculum developers. We will also interview key stakeholders of the grants, including employers, industry associations, technical assistance contractors, external curriculum developers, and other consultants. We will also talk to workforce investment system representatives and community and faith-based organizations, as well as social service agencies. And most importantly, we will also want to interview or conduct focus groups with students. As a part of our evaluation, we will also develop a synthesis of the performance and evaluation results from the grants and third-party evaluators. We will analyze the performance data provided to the department and summarize these overall results. We will also review and summarize evaluation results presented in the third-party evaluators' interim and final reports. Our synthesis of the results will be provided in the interim and final results we produced for the department. Now I will turn it over to Bert Barno, who will discuss the cross-site analysis we are exploring in the national evaluation.
Thank you, Lauren. We're going to first talk about the cross-site non-experimental impact analysis that we're going to be conducting. The first thing we want to do is determine which of the program interventions that the grantees are doing and which evaluation designs are similar enough that we can pool across the sites. You know, each site varies in size, and some of them are fairly small. By combining sites, we'll be able to look in more detail at what's happening and try and get a better idea of the impact. One of the things we hope to do is identify 2 to 3 common program and evaluation designs so that we can conduct the pooled analysis. We're right now in the process of conducting calls with selected grantees and their third-party evaluators to learn more about what they're doing in terms of their program designs and also their evaluation design methods. Some of the common grant interventions that we've determined based on our phone calls and also looking at the proposals involve 2 basic approaches. First, a lot of the grantees are using accelerated learning models. And these can be characterized in 3 different types. First, many of the grantees are using modularized learning. They're basically, instead of offering just semester-based courses, they break it down into chunks, and people can combine them to come up with various credentials. Secondly, the credentials that are being offered in these are not just 2-year degree credentials or even individual course credentials. They're what's called stackable credentials, where a lot of times people will earn more than one, and together they form a more useful credential for the people to get jobs. Third, we found that another way that the grantees are able to accelerate the learning is to offer integrated basic education and skills training. This can be done through having 2 instructors together in the same course, or by trying to make sure the material that's offered, say in the basic education components, meet the criteria for the skills training that's going on. Second approach that we find that the grantees are doing is they're doing a lot of technology-enabled learning. Many of the grantees are offering online self-paced learning, and some of the grantees are also blending classroom learning with the online. Next slide shows you a summary of the different types of evaluations, impact evaluations that the sites are using. These are based on the second round grantees. We have 79 total grantees in the second round. 12 of them are using an experimental design with random assignment. This is the best possible way to do an impact evaluation so that we really know what the impact is. It's not subject to the potential biases that other designs have. So 7 of the 79 are using that, and we're very pleased about that. The remainder are using various non-experimental and quasi-experimental designs. 68 are using what we call quasi-experimental designs, which involve a comparison group. And of those, we have 2 major components. 21 are using propensity score matching. And in propensity score matching, basically you have the people in the treatment group are matched to people who did not get the treatment based on various characteristics that are associated with enrollment in the treatment. And 2 are using what's called a regression discontinuity design. A regression discontinuity design, it can take place when there's a variable that's used to determine who's eligible for the treatment, and people above a certain score or below that score are eligible for the treatment, and the other people are not eligible. Those are the 2 major approaches that are being used. The remainder are using other comparison group methods. Then all of the grantees, all 79 in the second round, are using other quantitative approaches to look at outcomes. They're just looking, for example, at outcomes. They're doing pre-post differences and other approaches. Of course, all the grantees are also conducting process and implementation studies as well as qualitative analyses. Thank you, and I'm going to turn it over now to Lauren.
To Randy.
Randy's going to talk about goals for working with the third-party evaluation.
Thank you, Bert. I'd like to talk about our goals and what we plan to do around working with the third-party evaluators. And I want to say we're really looking forward to working with all the teams out there. Our goal overall is to build a learning community among the evaluators from all the rounds, build understanding and share information and lessons from the evaluation process. We want to work closely with the local evaluators, grantees, and the national evaluation team to understand your needs and get you the best information possible. Specifically, we want to learn where the local evaluators need additional support to be successful. We can then make sure that you have the resources and activities that are relevant and tailored to your projects, your methods, and your interests. We'll be putting on peer learning activities among the evaluators to support exchange of knowledge because you are all the experts in your chosen domains. And we'll be tracking progress of the evaluations in cooperation with the National Evaluation Team. Here are some of the specific activities that are coming up. We're going to have a pair with evaluator conferences this year, 2013 and 2014, to support peer learning and offer specialized information to the evaluators. These conferences may be virtual, but they will be highly participatory. This year's meeting might be held as a track at the grantee conference, but that's to be determined. We will also put on 2 webinars per year to supplement the conferences and keep the information flowing to you and among you all. We really want to get your input on the most relevant topics for the webinars. We'll be putting up an email address soon so that you have a way of communicating with the team to give us feedback on the kinds of topics that are most interesting to you. Finally, we'll be holding regular calls with the evaluators to see how you're progressing and what topics you'd like to hear about. Here are some prospective topics that might be covered in peer learning events, such as webinars or conferences. Obtaining evaluation data that may not be available in your college system, like labor market information. Drawing valid comparison groups for impact analysis when there's no random assignment used. Using formative findings for continuous improvement of programs. Tailoring evaluation to specific types of program interventions. But I encourage you to give us feedback on what interests you. Are these topics relevant? What would you most like to hear about? What additional topics would you like us to cover? We've set up a unique email account for you to send questions and update the National Evaluation Team on your work. You can see the address here, tacteval@urban.org. And there's a shared web space in SharePoint that will be available to put to see evaluation articles and examples. We'll be archiving the webinars, and it will be provide online forums for peer learning. If you're on this, you're listening to this webinar, you should have been automatically signed up to the SharePoint site, or you should have received an email to Urban Institute to sign up. If you haven't had one of those communications, please email the National Evaluation Team at tacteval@urban.org, and we'll make sure that you get into the SharePoint site instructions for linking to it. Now I'd like to introduce the 2 local third-party evaluators who you'll be hearing from. So they'll give you a ground-level view of their projects and methods. First, Ann Person, Mathematica Policy Research. Dr. Person is leading the evaluation for Sinclair Community College Consortium with grantees in Ohio, Texas, and Florida. Ann's team is a great example of how evaluating the process of TACT programs can serve continuous improvement of projects. Next, we'll hear from Dr. Soko Starobin of Iowa State University. Dr. Starobin and her colleagues are evaluating the Iowa Advanced Manufacturing Project. It's a powerful example of blending quantitative and qualitative methods of evaluation. I'll turn it over to Ann now.
Thank you, Randy. Again, my name is Ann Person, and I'm a senior researcher at Mathematica Policy Research. I'm serving as the project director for the external evaluation of the TACT-funded project led by Sinclair Community College in Dayton, Ohio. And before I get started, I just want to thank Lauren Eister and her colleagues on the TACT National Evaluation for inviting me to present today. And I'd also like to recognize Nancy Thibault, the Sinclair project director for the grant, who's played a major role in shaping our evaluation. I'll start by giving you a brief overview of the grant-funded project. The formal title, which is a bit long, also provides a pretty good description of the program. It's called Adapting and Adopting Competency-Based IT Instruction to Accelerate Learning for TAA-Eligible Veterans and Other Adult Learners. The grant involves 3 partner colleges. In addition to Sinclair, which is the lead, Austin Community College from Texas and Broward College in Florida are partners and co-grantees. And as the title of the grant indicates, the colleges are working with Western Governors University to adapt and adopt WGU's competency-based curricular model. This model is characterized, among other things, by being largely online and self-paced, things that Bert mentioned in his description. Each college will adapt and implement a competency-based program in specific information technology pathways: networking and software development at Sinclair, programming at Austin, and tech support at Broward. And then finally, of course, Mathematica is a subcontractor to Sinclair, and we're leading the external evaluation. Our evaluation has 4 primary goals: to assess project implementation, to assess project outcomes or impacts, to support DOL reporting and compliance, and to support continuous improvement of the college's programs. Our first 2 goals were, of course, required by DOL in the solicitation for the Round 2 TACT grants, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on these, but I will note that we're working very hard with consortium colleges to make sure that we implement as comprehensive and rigorous an evaluation as possible given the circumstances. Toward that end, we've had a series of webinars and in-person meetings to really flesh out the program's logic model and then to develop a design that capitalizes on the way that the programs are going to roll out to deliver that rigorous evaluation. The last 2 goals were maybe implicit in the DOL requirements, but we chose to make them explicit in our work with Sinclair because we believed that they would be extremely important to the success both of the grant and the success of the evaluation. I'll focus the rest of my talk on the last point in particular, continuous improvement, as I think it may be something that's a bit unique to our approach and something that I think a lot of TACT grantees could be interested in. The first really central component of our work to support continuous improvement is a tool called the Implementation and Planning Guide and Deliverable Schedule. This planning guide was developed in collaboration with the consortium leadership at Sinclair, and Nancy Thibault in particular. She and her colleagues were looking for a way to manage and monitor program implementation across the 3 colleges. So we're working with them to develop a database that will track the inputs, activities, and milestones for each key grant deliverable. The information tracked here will include start and end dates, individuals responsible for each indicator, and it will also allow the colleges to address challenges that come up as they track progress on each indicator. Using this database, the Consortium National Office will have a sort of dashboard of implementation progress across the consortium colleges. At the same time, each college will have an internal planning and tracking tool, and the information coming out of this tool will feed directly into the quarterly reports for DOL. What I myself really love about the tool, though, is that it also doubles as the major way of collecting data for implementation, for the study of implementation as part of the evaluation. So on some level, we're killing 3 or even 4 birds with 1 stone with the planning guide and the associated tool. It's a management tool, a data collection system, and a reporting system all in one. The other major facet of our support for continuous improvement at the consortium colleges is our role in processing their student outcomes data. The cornerstones of this effort are really the first and third bullets you see listed on my slide. First, we're working with the colleges to develop a data dictionary with all the items needed for both DOL annual performance reporting and for the outcomes evaluation. The dictionary will ensure that the colleges are reporting all the necessary data correctly and consistently across colleges and over time. The second piece I'll mention is that once the colleges upload their data to us, we'll then generate tables for the DOL annual report. And in addition to that, we'll provide some benchmarking tables where the colleges can see how they're doing versus their own performance targets and potentially in comparison with each other or in comparison to other programs at the college. The idea with these tables is not that Mathematica just spits them out, hands them back to the colleges, and we're all finished. Rather, the idea is that the tables will set the stage for all the various stakeholders to really engage around the information in an ongoing internal improvement conversation. My final slide is just meant to show how the various measurement and evaluation components come together. I won't go through it in great detail, but I will say that it emphasizes how everything that we're doing for the evaluation really goes back to the program's own logic model. Inputs, the activities, the outputs, and so on. The point that I really want to make here is that the evaluation is really integrated with program development. The two flow together. So even though we're called an external evaluator, and our independence and objectivity are absolutely critical for the success of the evaluation, we are at the same time a member of the consortium team. And I like to think that our involvement on that team supports the program at the same time that it makes the evaluation better. So with that, I'll end. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anne. And now we're going to hear from Dr. Sako Starobin of Iowa State University. Sako?
So, good afternoon. I'm going to move the slide. And this is Sako Starobin from Iowa State University. I represent the Office of Community College Research and Policy. And I'm a faculty member, and I am co-partner with the Research Institute for Studies in Education, also at the house at Iowa State University. And we serve as the external evaluator for the Des Moines Area Community College and consortium community colleges in the state of Iowa. We are particularly targeting on the Iowa Advanced Manufacturing programs, career technical education programs, and the community colleges, all 15 colleges in the state of Iowa. So slightly different approach as Anne presented earlier. And again, on behalf of the team, I would like to thank for the invitation to share our evaluation plan today with our peer external evaluators and the Urban Institute group this afternoon. So with that, our approach is not to repeat what Anne presented earlier, but we would like to come as more contextual information. And since we are serving as external evaluator for the whole state, targeted state, we just thought that we would share today about the knowing your state. And coming from the state of Iowa, there are perceptions that we are agricultural based in corn and beans, but we are also in a national leader in terms of the windmills and then also other manufacturing area. So we thought that some of the peer evaluators who are serving for the consortium or colleges that are located in the rural states, smaller states, or some other characteristics are sharing with states such as Iowa, we thought we would provide such contextual information. And we do have a unique workforce challenges, and we want to have that contextual information into the evaluation component. So such as the brain drain issues, and it has been a critical issue for workforce development, in particularly in the state of Iowa. And also there's a state initiative to attract the manufacturing industries and businesses. So those are the information that we want to make sure that we would work with the colleges and embed it into their curriculum development, and then also recruitment of the participants. Unlike the urban areas or large colleges, we are in a unique geographical situation where we need to almost have to recruit those individuals who would benefit through these grant activities. So those are the issues that we would work very closely with the grantees and consortium colleges. And then again, we are also looking at 15 different community colleges, and within those colleges, there are multiple programs. And some of the curriculums, they are hands-on curriculums, and also online programs. Some of are very short, some of are traditional 1 year, 2 year, some of are credit, some are non-credit. So we're trying to approach such diverse ways to deliver the manufacturing curriculum to the participants, and we're trying to understand what are the best ways to have the evaluation of those unique catered programs. Right? And then also we're trying to understand the local business industry partnerships around that. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the size and scope, they're very different on the 15 community colleges and geopolitical issues associated with that. So we're trying to approach both quantitative and qualitative methodological approaches into the evaluation effort. So the quantitative evaluation portion, the program outcomes, typically, again, we're looking at the completion of the program and also retaining those individuals to complete, and also looking at the transition onto the post-secondary education and in the means to transferring from community college to 4-year and so forth. So we proposed the design, again, comparison cohort using propensity score matching approach. And it was addressed earlier in the presentation, and it also Anne spoke about that. And again, our, in terms of the participation size, are quite small. So we are trying to approach in a way, what is the best to generate the cohort, treatment group, and control group around that. Matched information, demographic, academic training, and so forth. And we're trying to have the multiple data sources. For instance, we are working with the consortium colleges to develop the intake form. And those are the critical information that we can obtain from the colleges and at the program level. And we're trying to have the electronic submission through the Des Moines area community colleges, and that collected data will serve us as external evaluator to take a look at it. One of the unique part of our quantitative evaluation approach is we are going to partner with the Iowa Department of Education to have the access to the community college MIS data set. And that would give us enough information about their educational background, attendance, and some of the course level information about the individuals. We also will have the partnership with Iowa Workforce Development in terms of post-college earnings data, so that we could measure the impact of the program participation in terms of the earnings. In terms of the qualitative evaluation approach, we are going to take a look at data analysis, focus groups, interviews. Again, some programs are extremely small and some of them are very short in terms of displaced workers to go through some of the programs. So we want to make sure we'll have a variety of ways to collect the qualitative information to inform the grantees and the consortium colleges to improve the programs. And then again, data sources, project records, and then also the leaders, they are going to inform us as external evaluator to have some of the challenges and strengths about those programs. We're planning to interview faculty, advisors, and of course, students and community partners. So those are the mixed method approach that we are going to execute, and trying to have the understanding of the state of Iowa, how this TACT grant will impact the workforce development and then also economic sustainability of the state. So thank you so much for that opportunity.
Well, thank you, Silko, and thank you, Ann Person, for excellent presentations on the third-party evaluations. And I'd like to also thank Laura Neister from the Urban Institute and Bert Barnow from George Washington University for walking us through the National Evaluation Methodology. This has been an introduction to the National Evaluation and of the TACT evaluation grant. And we'd like to get your questions, comments, and suggestions on topics for the National Evaluation, TA, and peer learning. Again, you can email them to taaccct@urban.org. Thank you for joining us today.